Oh, sorry. I was just trying to find the verse that said, love your neighbor until you disagree on something. Hey, how's it going? There was an issue that came up on Facebook a little while ago. Someone posted a status update that said pretty much something along the lines of Glenn Beck is embarrassing. I took issue with that, and a couple other people did, but what really surprised me was the amount of people that totally agreed with that. And what looked like to me on the part of several of them was just an intense hatred for this guy. I mean, Glenn Beck, yes, he was called a propagandist, a sensationalist, and one guy even called him an arrogant blowhard. What was the problem here? I wondered. Why did this bother me so much? And I just started thinking, maybe the issue wasn't really Glenn Beck. The issue was how people reacted to him. Because Glenn Beck is a TV talk show host. Let's face it, talk show hosts are supposed to be a little sensational. They're supposed to be a little over the top. Glenn Beck does those things. I mean, if he didn't, he probably wouldn't get many viewers. But also, he said a few things wrong. Someone brought up a list of 5 things, just 5, as opposed to, let's say, Obama or Clinton or someone like that. 5 things that Glenn Beck said that were wrong. Now, personally, I get a few things wrong every day. I'm human. And I'm sure Glenn Beck is the same way. I'm sure he's just as human as the rest of us. But what was the problem here? Was it that Glenn Beck had said a few crazy things? Or that people just hated the truth that he stood for? I just really couldn't understand this. And it struck me that the things that conservatives accuse liberals of doing, we often do the same thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm proud to be called a conservative. I love the conservative movement, although I kind of am calling it the armchair movement right now. But more on that later. But the thing is, there are a lot of things that liberals do that conservatives also do. Let's take, for instance, liberals' reliance on government. Now, we all know liberals love the government. Liberals want the government to take control of everything. And that's the main thing that they say is so that the poor can be helped, the needy can be helped. Good ideas, great intentions, but just not the best thing. Now, how do conservatives do this, you might ask? They depend on government, but in a different way. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Christians being involved in politics is a very important thing. There are some great people I know that have been involved in politics a long time, have made a huge difference. Dan Becker being one of them. Marie Hendrickson being another. Just a bunch of others that have been kind of in the background, helping things along and making a difference. Now, on the other hand, the thing that seems to be the problem here is that we rely on politicians too much. We rely on the government to fix things. Now, you may think that's crazy, but think about it. What is the solution to our problems? We got to elect the right guy. He'll get in there, he'll get the job done, and he'll take care of things. What's different in that from the liberals saying, hey, the government will take care of this? Now, we might say on a slightly lesser scale, but it's still the same thing. This is an issue that needs to be taken care of because politics and politicians are not and should not be our first thing we look to first for guidance, for fixing things, for solace or anything like that. The government's not the answer. And we all know what happens to good guys who get into the real deep politics. Most of them just end up getting involved in it and just end up being kind of ineffective. What else do the liberals have in common with the conservatives? We don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Think about this. Liberals have self-esteem. They hate the idea of someone's self-esteem being lowered. We wouldn't want anyone to think lesser of themselves. I mean, all you have to do is look at California with the math program. You know, we don't want to give anyone F's. We don't want to give anyone, tell them that they're wrong, that 2 + 2 isn't 5, because that will lower their self-esteem. Never mind that will ruin the rest of their lives, because any future employers won't be able to hire them because they don't know simple math. How do conservatives do that? Well, with issues that really need to be taken care of, we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. We don't want anyone to feel like they're lesser than they think they are. Big issues that the ones that are just right there and really need to be taken care of. We are so terrified of approaching the person around whom a controversy is centered, or who's having a major issue with something. We don't want to touch that. We don't want to get near that. God forbid that we should tell that person that they're on the wrong path. Now, along that same line, liberals will attack conservatives and tear them apart. What do conservatives do, on the other hand? We'll attack ourselves and tear each other apart. That's the main thing we have different with the liberals. Liberals will stick with their own people, but conservatives will rip each other apart. Glenn Beck is a great example of that. People are more willing to rip him apart because he's out there and he's trying to fix things, and he may not be perfect, and they hate that. But they are more than willing to tear him down instead of looking at what he's saying, discerning if there's truth in it, and going and proceeding accordingly. Even down on personal levels, if someone is in leadership in a church, we are more than willing to destroy their character, destroy their reputation, because we disagree with a minor detail. This is the kind of behavior that is causing everybody outside the church to ridicule and to hate Christians. This is a behavior that causes Muslims to despise Christians. This is a behavior that has caused this nation to get to the point that it is. We hate the thought of hurting the feelings of someone else, of someone who we are really close to, or someone that we just simply don't know at all, but someone we're slightly familiar with, or on a fairly good basis with. We are more than willing to tear them apart. And this is what has brought our nation low, because our church, the church in the U.S., is so schismed, if that's the right word, that, I mean, another example, look at the amount of denominations. Just within the Presbyterian Church alone, we've got the PCUSA, the PCA, the OPC, the RPC, so on and so on and so forth. Why? Because someone disagreed on a minor issue and just decided to back out and do his own thing. This is not acceptable. This is not Christ-like behavior. And back to the government issue too. We are so fixated on electing the right people that we've forgotten what we're supposed to be doing. My favorite verse about this is in 2 Chronicles 7:14. You're probably very familiar with this verse. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. God doesn't say if those people who are so screwed up and they can't get their act together will just figure it out, then I'll heal their land. No, he says you. He says my people who are called by my name. What are we called? Christians who took on the name of Christ. And it's our responsibility to fall on our knees before the face of a holy God and beg for forgiveness for destroying his people, for destroying his people's reputation, most of all, for destroying Christ's reputation. This is Ian, signing off.